Hey, welcome to Nursing Home Insider. So for the past 7 or 8 weeks, I've done these shorts on a series called What's the Most Important Role in the Nursing Home? And I started the short thing and I quit. I haven't done a long one in a while because 1st of January I had emergency appendectomy. And so then between that and work, it was just a lot to try to think about videos. So I thought I would do the shorts, and I just used each role and tried to explain why they were the most important. I think, especially on TikTok, it just didn't come across the way I wanted it to, and some people kind of got upset and saying that every job was important, and I'm like, I know that's the whole point. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to combine them all back into one. I'm going to talk about why I did that in the first place, because the most important role in a nursing home is not one particular job by any stretch of the imagination. There are some that seem to have more impact on the residents, of course, CNAs, and we're going to talk about all that. But you cannot run a nursing home without any particular one job. And there are bad and good people that work in every single job. So even though the role is important, it comes down. You could have a really awful CNA on the floor, and then you have a great housekeeper who's doing her job and paying attention to the residents and interacts with the residents, and she may notice more than the CNA because the CNA's in there sitting on her phone. So anyway, I'm just saying that can happen. I've seen it happen. You've got, so we're going to talk about the whole nursing home and what each role can have the impact for. I know people, laundry and housekeeping, people think that they're lower on the pole, and really they're not at all, because a nursing home cannot function if it's unclean, or if patients, residents don't have their clothes, and laundry is such a big deal in a nursing home, and we'll talk about that in a second. So overall then, every role is important, like I said. But let's look at, I put CNAs at the top. I know when I did the one on nurses, I had several nurses say, oh no, I couldn't do it without the CNAs. I said, no, I'm not saying your role is the most important. I'm just saying, yes, CNAs, nurses are directly in contact with the residents every single day. Okay. So a CNA, number one, they have anywhere from 10 to, I don't even want to put a number on it, because some nursing homes are so awful and they have, 20, 30 patients to deal with. That being said, especially graveyard shift. So CNAs are doing the daily, the showers, the changing, the feeding, all of the things that you can notice, like, you're feeding somebody and they're not being able to swallow. Obviously, the CNA is the first one that's going to notice that. Okay, so a CNA is very, very important in their role. And, I feel like, because I was a CNA for years, and I loved that job. So the education to get to being a CNA is not extensive. I mean, it's like, the 6 weeks class and a test. And so I feel like a lot of people go into that knowing they can get a higher rate of pay than, just your normal job. And so a lot of people go into that not really understanding the job. I feel like a CNA is a calling. I don't think it should just be a job for anybody. And I've noticed over the years, from way back when I was a CNA, and then I've still been in the nursing home in other roles, and I've seen a change. I've seen a shift in the attitudes. There's still some great CNAs, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like a lot of them are less likely to get real involved in, and I don't want any of you CNAs to get mad at me. I'm just saying what I see. I'm not saying it's true across the board, and your job is very, very important. And I just want you to take it very important. Do your job. These people have lived a life. They've got families. They've had a job. They're people. And if you have to love them and treat them with respect and, not treat them like kids, because they're not kids. And then, so your role is extremely important, as hand in hand, the nurse. The nurse's job is very important because, you got to get the meds right, and you want to give them out in a timely manner because, they've got to have meds. And there again, a nurse on a hall, she could have a few patients, or she could have lots of patients. So there again, family members, I'm talking to you too, because you need to understand what these people in the nursing home are dealing with. It's not like your parent is the only one that they have to deal with. Now, should it be treated that way? Absolutely. In reality, it just sometimes can't happen that way. Why are they always short-staffed? And we're going to get to that when we get to administration. So you've got so many things. And, anytime you have a big company, you have places where people live, and you've got all the staff and the residents, you're going to have issues. There's no doubt. Okay, so what I want you to do as a family member or as a resident in a nursing facility, I don't know who's watching this, but, the staff has a lot on them, and depending on how many patients or residents that they have, then it makes it even more so. Okay, so just be understanding of that is all I'm asking. I'm not saying that, some CNA sitting there looking at her phone all day and not taking care of your parent is okay. That's not okay, and that should be addressed. And I feel like that's almost the norm now versus maybe abuse, which is still probably out there too, for sure. But and that can be a form of abuse, obviously, just not paying attention. So the focus definitely should be on the residents, and that means that the CNA, the nurses, those roles are extremely important. Next, we talked about dietary. Food is so important, and I've not ever been in a nursing home where the food was extremely good. Now, I've had dietitians that worked, they did their best with the small budgets that they have, that cooked, stuff from scratch for the people. Those, they go out of their way to accommodate what your mother, your sister, your uncle, what they want. That is a good person in the kitchen that is, concerned about your loved one. Okay. And that's why their role is important because, like I said, I don't know about you. I love to eat. We all love to eat. And especially when you get to a place when you're in a nursing home, what do you have left? Just depends on, your family. But let's just say, you're there. Your life, for all practical purposes, you feel like you're there till you die. What do you have? Food, okay? Entertainment, activities. We're going to get to that next. So that's just so important. And I just feel like even as a family member, you can bring in stuff to them. Now, we can get into let's go back to the nurse and, what their diet says they're supposed to eat. So depending on you and your loved one and how you want to address that, that's up to you. But food is very important. And like I said before, I've been in places where the food was so awful, and everybody that was on a puree diet, all they ever got was pudding, Jell-O, and instant mashed potatoes. So, and then I was in another place where they gave them everything the other people had and just ground it up like, pureed waffles or whatever. So that's definitely a difficult job, and you should appreciate the people that are in the kitchen for sure. Housekeeping, and laundry. And really, I could go on and on. I'm looking at my clock. I stayed a lot of time on the CNAs. So housekeeping, wow. I mean, you don't want the nursing home to smell like bleach every time you walk in. You would just want it to be clean. And if you've got, there was this one girl that worked at this last place I was at, and she always did such a good job. Like, you know, she really went out of her way to make everything clean. And I know we had like carpet in this one area, and it would get stained. And I mean, she would get in there with a scrub brush and do it on her hands and knees and try to get the stains out. So, you know, you want somebody that cares about their job and that still likes the residents. You know, you build a relationship with all these people that work there. And it should be a positive experience for your loved one to, you know, the person that comes in their room every day to clean, that they have that kind of rapport with them. And that's important. And laundry. I don't know that I've ever been in a facility where laundry was not an issue. And, you know, at the last facility when they had, they didn't have a laundry person because they had it on each floor for the CNAs to do the laundry. And yet it's still an issue. So I don't understand. It's not rocket science. You know, names should be enclosed. And if family members do not do the laundry and there is a laundry person, you know, just, you know, I guess growing up, my mom and dad always instilled in me that whatever you do it to your best ability. So, you know, whether you feel like your job is not important, it is, you do your best. Don't just think it's not important and you don't have to do a good job. Okay. That's all I'm trying to say to you that work there. Because your job does matter. And you matter if you can even look at your job as not what you do, but your relationship you can have with those people in the nursing home. I always get emotional. So anyway, we've got that. And then social work, as I did social work in a nursing home for a while. And it's important in the fact that you are there to be a sounding board for the residents, for them to be able to complain, for them to be able to bring their concerns to you, to help the families cope with death, with putting them there in the first place, with maybe they want to go home and you're finding them a place to go back to. I mean, those are very important things. And social workers, and I got a lot of negative feedback from that social work video where everybody was saying how awful the social workers were that they had in their facility. So that should not be true. There shouldn't be any horrible people in a nursing home facility. That's just my pie in the sky dream, because I know that is definitely not true. But unfortunately, you know, it's life. It's what we got to deal with. So then you should go out of your way to make all the residents feel special, if that's in your heart to do so. Activities was my favorite job, and yet it wasn't. It's so all you activity directors out there, you understand. I mean, especially if you don't have help, if you don't have an assistant, or if you don't have volunteers, it's a lot, and you get a little bit of budget. I mean, I had almost minimal budget. I spent so much money of my own, and my husband used to get upset. But my goal was to see that they had the best life possible while they were there. We did all kinds of crazy things, and I mean, I could spend another hour talking about all that fun stuff. So any of my residents out there watching this, you can leave comments if you would like. They like to watch the videos. So activities is very important for their emotional well-being. I mean, what is worse? I mean, besides food, and you're alone and you're sitting in your room all the time with nothing to do. So you want that interaction. And if you're bedridden, you can't get out, then the activity director comes to you. whatever you like to do, puzzles, coloring, spend time, listen to the radio. I know a lot of people just, get stuck on watching TV. And I know, so we're from New Orleans down here. And so last year during Mardi Gras, all of my residents that had wheelchairs, walkers, whatever, we decorated everybody's wheelchair. We decorated walkers. We had throws, and it was very inconvenient because it's a big building with lots of floors. So we had to go from floor to floor with probably 20 people in this parade, and we blared our Mardi Gras music and went from floor to floor and threw out throws and handed stuff to all the bedridden people. That was just one little example. I mean, you want every day to matter. You want to make contact with everybody every day. They should ever be sitting in their room with nothing at all to do. So an activity director is extremely important. And then, of course, I didn't save administration for last because they're not important. Because, of course, the nursing home could not run without an administration team. Administrators, they're like the ground floor. Like if you have a bad one, everybody's going to have bad attitudes. You're going to have high turnover. It's just not going to flow right. I've had good and I've had bad. And I've had the best. So, everybody's got different personality traits, obviously. So it just depends on, I guess, how you click with people. But what I would like and what I see in an administrator that is a good thing, yes, you want somebody that can, keep everything running smoothly and all of that. But a good administrator is not in their office, hiding out, just doing their book work. They have relationships with the residents, and the residents can come to them. The staff can come to them. It should be fair. It should be a place where, staff's not afraid to come and voice their concerns, that they can. But a good administration, like I said, now you won't have as much turnover because the administrator is just so key. It really is. I had one years and years and years ago that was always on the floor. He was great. He was, this was back when I was a CNA way back a long time ago, but I remember him. His name was Ken, and he was always out with the residents, and he knew what was going on in their lives. So therefore, it's not like a surprise. I mean, the CNAs are not the only one. If the administrator knows what's going on with his residents, then that's so important. I've just seen others that just hide away and just rely on other people to give them information. So as you can see, the nursing home is a multifaceted place with lots of moving parts and lots of people working there. So of course you're going to have issues. However, it can be and it should be a place of peace and happiness and not death and despair. Let's give our residents some meaning in their lives, the last section of their life. Okay. Not everybody ends up in a nursing home, of course, but I could be. I don't know. You could be. Let's make it. Another thing my parents taught me growing up, do you do what you want to be treated. I'm going to treat others the way I want to be treated, and I think that's missing today. So for staff, let's do our best to give the residents a life they deserve. For family members, be patient, understanding with staff, but also be watchful. You have to be there. You have to see what's going on and step up and speak out when you need to. And if you have a good administrator to go to, then even more so that things can get done. I would love to hear in the comments, like your experience, whether you are a staff, whether you are a resident, whether you are a family member, what you feel like maybe is the most important day to day, and if you agree with me that they're all important and everybody should do their best. Anyway, thanks, and I will see y'all soon.